Jeff Angelo sitting in for Jan Michelson. This is News Radio 1040 WHO. Well, crude oil prices are at 10-month highs, and the average gas station has raised its prices 17 cents a gallon over the last month, and then 5 cents over the last week alone. Now, you expect some increase in gas prices after Memorial Day because demand is up, but there's actually some structural explanation for this as well. And on the News Radio 1040 WHO Newsmakers line, it's Tim Snyder. He is the president of Agri-Energy Solutions. Tim, welcome to WHO Radio in Des Moines. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about the markets, especially for Crudefunders as well.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, tell me a little bit about what the structural problem is, and then, I'd like you to tell me about this Crudefunders. It's very interesting, but what's the problem here? Why are our gas prices going up so quickly in the last few weeks?
Well, here's the deal, Jeff. If you look at the market, this is the time of year when when prices really start to go up because we are actually in the dry season. We changed the I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but the RVPs, or the gasoline blend, in March, technically for April consumption. And then we start watching demand increase and those kinds of things. And people are fighting, not wanting to get on airlines to do stuff, but we're just seeing more demand for gasoline, which is going to pull the price of that gasoline up just a little bit higher. The issue here, though, that's most important for your listeners to understand is this is pretty much short-lived. This will go till probably around the 4th of July before it really begins to settle back. Demand begins to settle down a little bit. So that's why we're seeing a lot of this stuff. Plus, on top of that, we're starting to worry looking into the tropics, as we had that one tropical depression that formed, and they named it, I think it was Bonnie, as it came around the Carolinas. Mm-hmm. That just heightens your concern over if we're going to have a hurricane or a tropical storm that hits the Gulf that actually shuts down production for the refineries.
And you are heavily involved in looking over the infrastructure of how we get our fuel, Tim. So tell me, you're associated with an organization called Crudefunders. So tell me what that is and what problem it's trying to address.
Well, what it's addressing is that, the traditional ways for funding the crude oil development in the United States have been with the big companies and larger opportunities, and they've been limited partnerships, and they've been for just the accredited investor. Crudefunders is a crowd-funded type program where you can literally go online at crudefunders.com, pull up their website. You can be an accredited investor or you can be a non-accredited investor and have the opportunity to invest in oil operations. They're looking at everything from new technologies and old technologies. They've got fields that they're looking to develop. The beautiful part about this is that with oil hitting its low back in January of this year and starting to move its way back up again, and we're expecting probably to see $60 crude oil by the end of this year. Right now is a great time. We're trading at $48.17 a barrel right now. We're down, but right now is a great time to get in ground floor opportunity and really participate in the growth of what actually makes our economy move.
Yeah, because it looks like to me, as you and I were talking about the structural problems, what you're focusing on is that actually some of the equipment that pumps out the crude oil is getting old and ancient and needs to be replaced, and not being replaced fast enough to try to provide a demand or provide a supply to us to keep our oil prices and our gas prices at a decent level?
Well, that's a significant portion of the equation, Jeff, and add to that the fact that, currently in the United States, and we'll find out this morning at 10 o'clock when the EIA, which is the Energy Information Agency for the Department of Energy, releases their figures. Mm-hmm. But, right now we have a significant amount of crude oil on hand. We've got 537.1 million barrels on hand in the United States today. That's the overhang that everybody talks about that has really forced those prices down. But
right.
If you look at what we need from a demand standpoint, our refineries need 16.1 million barrels of crude oil per day to make gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, the distillates, all the things that they produce. That's only 33 days of production, so it's not such a daunting number. That's why when the crude oil prices are low like this, it's a great opportunity to start looking at investing, if you can, in the crude oil opportunities and this new crowdfunding method that Crudefunders has developed and is now nationally recognized in their programs can make a big difference.
Well, Tim Snyder of Crudefunders, it's crudefunders.com. I really appreciate talking to you today and hearing a little bit more about what's going on in the crude oil industry. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, no problem at all.